for me.
Good evening, everybody, and welcome to another edition of Sunday School Carnivore, brought all the way to you from Florida by the Carnivore Teacher channel, run by the excellent John Laspina. And regrettably, John can't be with us tonight because of which is very, very sad. Not quite as disastrous maybe as it sounds, because in fact he got in contact with us yesterday and he's been delayed by 6 hours, so he was unable to actually make it on time today. He should be just about arriving back in port in Florida even as we speak now. So best wishes, John. That's 2 weeks in a row that we haven't had the headmaster here, and while the cat's away, the mice may play. So we'll have some fun tonight, as we always do. As you know by now, my name is George. I'm your 59-year-old carnivore friend from the town of Bridgewater in Somerset. Briefly, I was very fat. Now I'm not. Then I had type 2 diabetes. Now I don't. I'm an ex-soldier, which I'm not anymore. However, there's maybe one or two things that I haven't actually mentioned about myself. And one of them is the fact that I was a Middle East specialist in the army. And I speak Arabic, and I was involved in the first Gulf War. I got myself involved by accident as a tourist in the 2011 Arabic Revolution in Cairo, and I studied Islam quite a lot. So that's an extra little additional fact that you didn't know about me. Now we'll move on to some housekeeping, and I'm absolutely thrilled to announce that it's been agreed that Stephanie is now a full-time staff member of Sunday School Carnivore. Basically, we've decided that we really can't live without her, because her administration skills are such that it just takes the pressure off me, because I have none at all when it comes to StreamYard, etc., etc. Actually, she had to show me tonight how I could read everybody in the chat, because I spent the last few weeks totally unaware of that fact. So anyway, what should we call Steph's role? Back in when I was a kid, it would have been school secretary, maybe. I'm not sure what you have in America. Is it school administrator? I don't know, possibly school manager, or maybe just the boss. I don't know. But it's over to you. Come up with some solutions in the chat, and it'll be really interesting to hear. So anyway, I'm going to hand you over to our new full-time member of staff to introduce herself. And we'll take it from there. Steph, go ahead.
Hello, George. What should we call me? Good question. I'm not going to make suggestions there, but look forward to seeing the suggestions in the comments. Great to be back again, pressing the buttons and things. And great to see you in the comments as well. I'm Stephanie, and I'm at Happy Sexy Health. I have a baby YouTube channel as well. So does George, actually, called George Good Enough 823. And that's it from me. I'm really excited to hear from Louise today. I've known Louise for quite a long while, and I don't really know everything about your story, Louise, so really excited to dive in. And we've got the Duckmeister back with us again, Rick, who I'm sure will be providing lots of great entertainment. Okay. Thanks.
Absolutely. So I'm going to hand over to Rick in a second, but already Carl Day of the Primal Lifestyle has come up with an excellent title for Stephanie, which is The Enforcer. And I think that's about right. So maybe we shall know her as The Enforcer from now on. Yeah, very, very good, Carl. Anyway, so I'm next going to hand over to Rick, because Rick was with us last week, but I'd like to him to give a chance to introduce himself again, because after all, he's one of the least known carnivores in the carnivore world. I mean, it's very rare that he appears anywhere, isn't it? So yeah, some of you, there may be somebody living out of Mongolia who has never heard of Rick. So in the meantime, I'm going to hand you over to Rick to reintroduce himself.
Well, that may be true. Although I have been interviewed by John, I've also been on his previous Wednesday night carnivore school that we used to have. And if you don't know who I am, all you have to do is look at Dave Mack's list of interviews, look for the very first one. And at that time, I think I was the 39-year carnivore, but now I'm the 41-year carnivore, and I'll be 42-year carnivore. Before I know it, I'm 57 years old, and I look and feel pretty much the same as I did at 25. And I'm living proof that even if you try to get a heart attack on the carnivore diet, you will probably not succeed, because I mean, I could die any time of a heart attack. I was out this morning working in my garage in the 90-degree heat, and I do ride my bike a lot, and I do a lot of activity. I do a physical job, And I feel really good, but those heart attacks, they can happen at any time. But the main thing is, I've been doing this for so long, it's just part of my life. I just can't think of living any other way. And anybody that knows me knows that I call other foods other than carnivore this kind of food, duck food. Because when I was a kid, yeah, see, there's the duck right there. We always used to give bread and rice and pasta and all that stuff to the ducks. It wasn't very good for them. They even told us, don't feed bread to the ducks because it's bad for them. And yet, as a kid, they told us, don't eat fat and don't eat a lot of meat because it's bad for you. You want to eat the whole grains. You want to eat the bread and the pasta and all that stuff. You want to be on the Mediterranean diet. But as you can see, I ignored all of that. And I'm still here. So I guess in this school, I'm either the janitor or I'm just the clown they call in for comedy relief.
But surely, Rick, I think your role is butler, isn't it? And that's officially your role because I believe you go on, give us you rang. Go on, Rick, give us your best lurch. Oh, you're on mute. You're on mute.
Hold on. You rang.
There we go. Okay, so yes, so that is Rich's best lurch, as he is the butler for the Adams family, so he can be the school butler or the school janitor as well. Just before we move on to Louise, I do happen to notice that we've got John in the chat, and I think he's agreed with Carl that Steph will from now on be known as the enforcer. So we've got the principal's approval. So that's very good.
That's me. I'm coming up as Carnivore Teacher this week.
Oh, right, okay. Oh, that's you coming up as Carnivore Teacher. Oh, sorry, I thought that would have been John. Okay, well, there we go. You've endorsed yourself anyway, Steph. So excellent. You are the enforcer from now on. There's no question about that. So thanks, Rick. And now we're going to move on to our new guest on Sunday School Carnivore, a lady who I'm ashamed to say that I didn't know much about until I joined Facebook on June the 7th. And we friended each other somehow or other, probably through the Carnivore connection. And I noticed that Louise is very active on Facebook, and we have a lot of mutual friends. And she puts up some great stuff and is always the first to like anything that I put up. So I thought I'd make contact with her this week and just find out if she'd like to come on Sunday School Carnivore. And I had no idea that she has probably got the best carnivore CV I've ever seen in my life, to be perfectly honest with you. So I was a bit taken aback that I hadn't really heard too much of her already. But she is like all of us, is a fellow Dave Mack interviewee, and has done plenty of other interviews as well, but has some amazing other stuff. I'm going to ask Louise to give us a pretty detailed history of her journey into carnivore, because I think it's one which deserves the telling. Anyway, Louise, over to you.
Hello. Yeah. I think I lurch in the backgrounds a lot. But I think people are getting to know me more and more. I've met Stephanie in real life before. We are introduced online because of the great British meetup coming up. So I've booked my tickets and I'm coming to that. And that's how I connected with you, George. My story, from my accent, I don't know if anybody can tell, I'm from South Africa. I moved to the UK when I was 20. So that's quite a long time ago. Same as Rick, I feel 25, although I am 45 after going carnivore. But yes, I don't even know where to start with this story, but maybe in lockdown, I fell over and broke my foot, and I was very large. I was 90 kilograms, so my BMI was 35. And I've got congenital heart disease, so after the break, I had to go for surgery on my foot, and then I had to go have an MRI, just a routine MRI on my heart that I have every 5 years. And they found secondary growths on my liver. And this was during lockdown, and I had a phone call from my GP one night saying they received the MRI results. Are you sitting down? And I was like, yeah. So I thought it was the worst news ever, like something's wrong with my heart. So she said, your heart condition seems to be okay, but we found these growths on your liver, so we've got to send you for an urgent cancer scan. And, Stephanie, you've had similar sort of news. So your world just falls into 1,000 little pieces. I'm 40 years old. I've got children that's young. You know, it's lockdown. Where am I going to go? The doctors won't see me. So now I've gone and I turned to the University of YouTube and Dr. Google. And I found, you know, I was Googling stuff about cancer and liver cancer and, you know, curing cancer, obviously, like a lot of people do when they were told not to do it. And I found people like Thomas Seyfried. And I dig deeper and deeper and then into the ketogenic diet. And then I found more people like Paul Mason, Ken Berry, Professor Tim Noakes. And, you know, the list just goes on because the algorithm keeps spitting out different videos in that sort of genre. Anyway, I went for the liver scan eventually 2 weeks later. The sonographer won't tell me the results. She said the doctor will call you. So now I've got to wait another 2 or 3 weeks before somebody called me. And they said it was cysts on my liver. Then I'm asking, so what caused these cysts? Bearing in mind I'm obese. I have got so many medical issues. I've got high blood pressure. I've got this arthritis in my foot. I keep having headaches. I sleep terribly. You know, it's one of those lists of these ailments going on. I'm 40 years old and I feel 80 when I wake up in the mornings. So when I asked her what causes cysts, she was like, she just shrugged her shoulders. Well, we don't really know. But you just have to keep out for the following symptoms, like if you get yellow or if you have pain and a few other things, sort of just very vague, but that could turn to cancer maybe one day. So it was just like, where do I go? You know, nobody can give me an answer. I don't know what caused these things. And I just realized this is not natural to have these things grow on your liver. Continued my search on YouTube and then just discovered to go keto, get myself into ketosis. Meantime, I had this broken foot sitting on the couch where I've just had surgery done and there was 3 metal plates, 13 screws in my foot, lockdown. I couldn't exercise, started eating very ketogenic, so less than 20 grams a day of carbs. So it was very animal-based, bearing in mind I was quite plant-based before that. I wouldn't eat butter. I wouldn't eat a piece of steak ever. It was just disgusting to me. So my ex-husband at the time, he would never have taken me out for a steak. I would have always had the vegan or vegetarian option of food. So sitting on this couch, I lost 30 kilograms. No exercise, just eating the proper human diet as such. Anyway, then it went deeper and deeper and I discovered that, you know, actually it could benefit my children as well. And my son, at the time, he was 4 or 5 and he was half deaf. So he had 50% hearing loss in both ears and he was wearing hearing aids. So I changed them to more meat heavy as well as time progressed. And he just one day said it was hurting so much, the hearing aids, that he couldn't wear them anymore. And this was still during lockdown. And went back eventually for tests. And his hearing was 100% normal now, in range. And I believe, because I've got no proof otherwise, that this high-fat animal-based diet has restored his health or his hearing, because I watched other videos on old men who was saying about their hearing being restored on carnivore keto. So I feel that that's contributed to his hearing restoration to 100% in normal range. So that's part of my story.
Absolutely. Yeah, thanks. I was going to say that's a great introduction there. I happen to be a former diplomat. I used to work for the European Commission in Beirut, which was a very interesting part of my life. But I understand that you have a role as a diplomat as well, not only in one organisation, but in fact in 2. I believe that you hold the position of ambassador for. Would you like to tell us about your diplomatic role within the carnivore community?
Yeah, so that was going to bring me to the next part of the story. Was I found Dr. David Unwin doing a speech on one of the YouTube channels, and he was part of the PHC. And then I wanted to become more involved in this community because I was seeing all the health transformations of not just myself, but so many other people. And I wanted to become part of this movement and help. And then I became an ambassador for the PHC, and I've been to their conferences now. I volunteer. I am really playing a very active role inside the PHC and delivering the PHC courses at my local GP surgery because my doctor found out about my health story through the GP that told me that I had these liver problems and that I've got on this ketogenic diet and I don't want to take statins because now my cholesterol is up. And because of my heart condition, I'm going to kill over. But my GP then, the head GP, so she's the practice lead or practice manager, not practice manager. I forget the name now, but she's the main GP there, main partner. Yeah.
Yeah.
So she then realized, and she's like, I love David Unwin. He's amazing. And I want to meet him. And I was like, well, okay. And she wanted to have a discussion with me. And she's just such an advocate for the low-carb lifestyle for patients. And so we've been working together for over 2 years now, delivering these public health collaboration courses to the patients. But in the meantime, each year the Noakes Foundation comes to the PHC and they set up a stall. And then because I'm from South Africa, Tim Noakes, that connection, I can speak Afrikaans fluently. I connect with the staff members there and we've become good friends. And then at the last PHC conference in London now, when we were there, they approached me and asked to become an ambassador for them as well.
Oh, that's fantastic.
So I've got my plate full of a lot of stuff. And then last week you just contacted me saying, can you come and speak on this? And I was like, yeah, sure. I just love spreading the truth as well, because I'm no medical professional, but I don't think we need to be to have the common sense of how this is all working in a biological level, that any human benefits from a low carb real food diet.
Yeah, very true. Absolutely. Yeah, so thanks for that. We'll come back to you in a second, Louise, because I mean, your story is going to be a lot more than what you've already told us. Because I would like to talk about is it Jackson, your son?
Yeah.
Yeah, and we'll come back to him. You sent me some excellent photographs of him. He's a lovely child, and with people like Lauren Tucker and Dr. Kiltz. And you said that Jackson absolutely loves Dr. Kiltz. Don't we all? Isn't he just such a lovable character? I'm so looking forward to going on with him on Friday, August 1st on the 6 a.m. meetup. Put a note in your diary, folks. And I'm fortunate enough to be traveling to America with him, courtesy of him, which we'll come back to later as well at the end of August. I see Papa Carnivore is here and our friend Mark is here. Steph, am I right in thinking that the real Carnivore Teacher actually came in briefly? Am I right in thinking that?
Yes, absolutely. He did pop in and he says hello and he's looking forward to rejoining us next week. And we did have a question for Rick, very serious question here. Oh gosh, I can't find it now. But it is, where is your usual mate, Rick? Milton, where's Milton? That was it.
Milton is actually on the floor. He got into some chicken scraps, and I don't know. He kind of disappeared, but he's in the room. He can pop up at any time.
Yeah, I have Angus and Hamish, and they have a habit of turning up at unwanted moments as well, usually getting in front of my camera. But we shall see. They're not around at the moment, which makes life a bit easier for me. Yeah, so right. Now, we mentioned the Professor Noakes Foundation. One story which may not be broadly known out there is the fact that Professor Noakes got himself into a bit of trouble with the South African authorities back along by saying that it was okay for children to actually have the carnivore diet. Would you like to tell us a little bit more about that one, Louise?
Yeah, it was a tweet that was posted, and the mother asked something about children, what's the best diet? I can't remember this quotes exactly, but he said something like it is fine to wean them on proper food. Like, I can't remember exactly the words because it became a very big law case in South Africa that lasted about 4 years. But all the evidence were out there. Zoe Harkham went over to help him, a lady called Maria Stobros. You know, the people behind him gave their time for free to help him because this case was huge. He got struck off the medical, whatever he was on. His university, the Cape Town University, struck him off. You know, everybody was just going against him because initially he had advocated for a high carb diet, and he was a marathon runner. So the story was huge back then. And it all because he'd done a tweet saying it was okay to wean children on proper food. I can't exactly remember what he tweeted. And that caused a big controversy. But in the end, he produced all this evidence with all the backup of all these professionals, like I said, Zoe Harkham. And the defense had one piece of evidence that wasn't really evidence. It was just some sort of nonsense piece of paper. And they couldn't defend it. So he won it after 4 years of struggles. That caused him a lot of stress. But he could have gone one of two ways. He could have said, let's fight it or just leave it. But he thought it was so important, and it's changed the trajectory so that we are all in this space now of real food. If he didn't do that, I think it would have kept us back 20 years. So this law case has probably catapulted us into where we are now for that extra 20 years in advance, I would guess.
Yeah, absolutely. And if I could just mention Zoe Harkham, PhD, as well. She lives not far from Steph, actually, over in Wales. She is one of my favourite characters in our space. She's not carnivore, but she does advocate low carb. And two of my favourites are What About Fibre? Zoe Harkham, What About Fibre? She was the one who convinced me finally that fibre was totally unnecessary. And also, Should We Be Vegan? She is absolutely hilarious when she speaks. So if anybody hasn't actually come across Zoe as yet, I can highly recommend that you go and track her down and track down those two videos in particular. But whenever she speaks, she's well worth listening to. She's Cardiff University, I think, so she's just up the road from Steph, literally. So it's a wonderful person. Yeah, Tim Noakes actually was originally a high carb athlete, wasn't he? He was a marathon runner, and he actually wrote a book in which he advocated high carbs, but he's had to retract that because did he not end up with type 2 diabetes even though he was doing everything right? Am I right in thinking that?
Yeah, he developed type 2 diabetes. His dad developed it and died quite young from complications, and then he himself developed type 2 diabetes, and he didn't know why. But then he went and read, I think, the Atkins book, the new Atkins for the New You. And then it all made sense. And then he ripped up his book and he said, I was wrong. This is wrong and I'm sorry. So he's one of those people with integrity who is not afraid to admit he's wrong. But he wasn't malicious with it. He just didn't know. Like all of us, we didn't know. We were eating plant-based, or we were eating no saturated fat. We were doing everything that the government guidelines were telling us to do. And like I said, I've got heart disease. I'm born with congenital heart disease. I've had major surgery. So I was being extra careful. I was told not to have children, 3 children, lovely, lovely children later, because the medical systems has advanced in areas like that. But for chronic diseases caused by lifestyle, we just keep getting sicker and sicker. And I was on high blood pressure tablets, and there was no medication for obesity, is there? Like, what am I going to do for obesity?
That's true. Apart from fatty meat, as I've discovered.
Exactly, but no, it's not in the food pyramid or the eat well plate, or as Zoe Harkin will call it, the eat badly plate. So yeah, I was really careful because I've got heart disease. I don't want to contribute to it by eating wrong. Yet I'm eating low sugar, no fat, all the artificial stuff, obviously, from factories, which I didn't realize was ultra processed rubbish at the time. Yet I grew up on a farm, living the best life, eating from the land. And when I moved to the UK, the whole environment changed, and McDonald's became like, it's on every corner. And I started eating these things called crumpets, and my life just changed. Yet when I lived on the farm of the land, milking the cows, getting our eggs out of, the chicken coops in the morning, that was actually like God and nature intended.
Yeah, exactly. On the McDonald's point, I think I can safely say that the first McDonald's opened in the UK, maybe about 76, 77. I can remember my first ever McDonald's, which was 1978, when I was spending a week with my sister in London. So yeah, it is a very recent innovation. Anyway, Louise, we'll come back to you in a minute. I think it's about time we gave Rick a chance to have a bit of a talk today. Rick, I was very disappointed with you yesterday because you did a Saturday live, but it was actually quite a short one for you. It was only 6.5 hours, so that was you. That came up on my feed today. I haven't had a chance to watch it all back as yet, but it will be keeping me company in the quiet times at work over the next couple of days. But anyway, how has your week been, Rick? 'Cause it's been a week. What have you been eating this week? Have you tracked down any new and interesting animals, or even an iguana or two? Or tell us about it.
Well, I did eat an iguana. I believe it was on Thursday. I had gone for a bike ride to the store, and they were very, very slow in that part of the canal, and I was able to grab one. I had my burlap bag with me, so I stuffed him in there, and then I ate him for dinner, so I had already had lunch. But other than that, it's just the usual, the beef, the ground beef, the chicken. I have chicken pretty much every day. In fact, I just had chicken for lunch, my heart attack chicken. Usually anywhere from about 3 to 5 pounds of chicken legs or chicken thighs, and I'll fry that in beef tallow. I use lard mostly because I have more lard than I do tallow. But other than that, there hasn't been much work. I did a couple of jobs last week, didn't make a lot of money, but I've been working around the house. In fact, today I'm in my garage. I'm trying to dig through 20 years worth of stuff that I've stored. I need a part for my truck, which nobody has. It's a flywheel for that engine. It was only made 1 or 2 years, and I have one. I've tried everything on the internet. I've tried junkyards. I've tried everything. No luck. So I have to go into that garage, which is a total disaster. And it's like 92, 93 degrees here, like it usually is. So I was sweating it out. But I came in, ate lunch, and then I, changed my shirt, and I came here to go on the live. And then after the live is over, I'll be back outside doing the same thing. Thus is the story of my life. Even when I'm not working, I am working, because besides my work, whether I'm fixing air conditioners, doing plumbing, electric, or cleaning or whatever, my own house always needs attention. So there's never a day when I just sit there. And again, I like to eat 3 times a day. I'm one of the few carnivores out there that doesn't fast, doesn't try to have 1 meal a day. Because if I ate 1 meal a day to satisfy myself, I would sleep 2 or 3 hours after the meal, because I'd be eating 4 or 5 pounds of meat, and I'd be like a snake that just ate something and then falling asleep, or an alligator. So I like to split it up in 3 meals. But other than that, it's been a pretty standard week, and we did have a lot of rain at the beginning of the week. Now it's dry and hot, so it's a little of everything. And of course, I do drop into some of these awesome chats and lives, and just a typical week for me.
Excellent, Rick. Okay, yeah, I find the iguana thing very fascinating, but the only problem is I'd love to eat one, but we don't have much of a population over here. However, I have discovered a population in the town of Bristol, which is in between where Steph and myself live. It's we live just either side of it, and I did go and look for one this week, and I hunted it down very carefully. I had it in my sights, but then the zookeeper saw me and called the police, so I had to run away very, very quickly indeed. So still no iguana for me, I'm afraid, but I can't see myself ever actually getting hold of one. Yeah, so I've had a fairly normal week as well, normal week at work, although I have resigned from work this week, actually. I've given a month's
Yay!
notice. Yeah, I know it is. Because I can no longer put up with the 60 hours a week in the job. It's quite a good job, but the 60 hours a week is just too much for me when I'm doing such things as this and heading off to America, and also trying to organise the Great British Meetup. However, I happen to know that Steph, had a bit of a big day yesterday because it's been all over Facebook. Now, you haven't told me anything about it other than the fact that you did it. Steph, would you like to tell us what you were up to yesterday?
Yes, quickly scanning brain. But no, I think what you're talking about is, well, a couple of things, actually. My sister and I, we've started to get invited to speak about this way of eating, which is very, very exciting. A lot of people of African descent in the UK are struggling very badly with health, type 2 diabetes, and so on. And so we were invited to do a talk to the African Heritage Alliance in Leicester yesterday. And there was great engagement, and people were really getting into it. One of the things is that a lot of them go to church, and in church, there's the belief that everything started, humans were eating only from the land, and after the original sin, that's when meat came into it and has been ever since. So it was interesting to learn a little bit more about that. And the other exciting thing is that I'm with my son. You've noticed I've got a different background. I'm in at his house. It's lovely to be with your grown-up children. I still find it so um it still feels like such a short time. And he has his own home in Birmingham, which is about 2 hours from where I live. And so I'm here helping him list some things that he's had for sale, which is something I'm very good at. And we've been having such a lot of fun together, and it's just great to spend time in his company. And when I woke up this morning, he made me a cup of coffee, and it felt like a real treat. It's just so lovely to be with him.
Oh, that's fabulous news. It really is. It's I don't really know Birmingham very well, but I was actually based in Loughborough, which is very near Leicester for a
Yes.
while, and so I got to know Leicester fairly well. It's in the east, over in the East Midlands there. Anyway, so back to you, Louise. Now,
George, we have had a really interesting question in the chat.
oh, go on. Sorry, I asked. Yeah.
So if you want to do it now or after you come back from the
No. Sorry, we'll do it. We'll do it now. There's no problem at all.
Great. So Papa Carnivore has said, did you see Kelly Hogan's recent video where she had 3 seasoned carnivore who tried the sugar diet and it totally messed them up?
Much as I love Kelly, I haven't actually seen that one. I literally do love that girl because she was the one who brought me safely to carnivore through her and Dr. Berry's video, Woman Eats Only Meat for 13 years, and this happened. So yeah, I do have her on subscription, but I'm very busy at the moment, and I can't even watch Rick's very short 6.5 hour video, let alone what Kelly sends me. So no, I haven't seen it, but I am. Shall I be delighted that it totally messed him up? I think possibly we should, really, because it's going to mess any human being up, isn't it? It's going to temporarily make you lose weight because you're not eating a conflicted diet between fat and sugar. But in the long term, you're not getting any nutrition either. So fat will trigger the weight loss. Fat only will trigger the weight loss because it's not a conflicted diet, which doesn't trigger the Randall cycle, which is something I don't know enough about to comment, really. But the sugar will have the same thing, not conflicted diet, because it's not fat and sugar. Therefore, the weight will come off. But you're gonna give yourself malnutrition. So I haven't seen it, Papa Carnivore, but thanks for bringing it up. Has anybody else here seen it by any chance?
I've not seen it, but I've seen the sugar diet floating around now. Big thing. It's almost like it's out there to compete against the carnivore diet and show everybody how.
Yeah, exactly. But I mean,
it can also make you lose weight, but it's losing muscle and
health.
bone and stuff. It's a bit like the weight loss injections. It's just it doesn't work.
Mm-hmm. To use a very English word, it's bollocks. Basically, that's what it boils down to. So yeah, I'm not sure I'm allowed to say that on YouTube, but I just did.
Some of us do not want to lose weight, so that's another thing.
That's very true as well. Yeah, I think that it's a real fad diet, because I don't know what you guys think, but I noticed about 3 weeks ago everybody was talking about it, and yet it seems to quietly sort of disappeared into the long grass, and I'm quite happy for it to remain there, to be perfectly honest with you. What was his name? Somebody Bell, Mark Bell, Smelly
Mark
Belly or
Bell.
something. Yeah, but
And
yeah, I think it's just one of those.
Cole Robinson.
Yeah, a real flash in the pan thing. It was somebody who was trying to get cause a sensation. It caused a ripple for about 3 weeks. It's disappeared now. There's still one or two people just mentioning it. Who really cares? It came and it went. But
Right.
we go on forever. I mean, Rick's been around for 42 years on Carnivore, so it's I think we're a bit longer lasting. Maggie White, for example, Lisa Wiedemann, 16, 17 years now, same as Kelly Hogan. Yeah, we're not going anywhere. I think the sugar diet will come and will go very, very quickly. So there we go. Yeah, Louise, I'm keeping on the time. We've still got plenty of time. But I'd like to hear more about your son Jackson, because I understand that he is a Down syndrome sufferer. It's one thing that we don't hear much of in the
doesn't suffer with Down syndrome.
Sorry, yes, wrong. Yes, exactly. I've used the wrong word there, which is me being naive. Yes, so I understand that, but you know a lot about Down syndrome because of Jackson, so that's a better way of putting it. Would you like to tell us the story, because we don't hear enough about that particular syndrome, even in the carnivore world?
Yeah, so once again, all the research I've been doing, and like I said, the algorithm spits out lots of information, and I have found some really interesting studies online on the Frontiers website, a study done in Italy or Spain, I can't remember exactly now, where they have identified that people with Down syndrome metabolize sugars differently, and therefore they get the metabolic diseases that we get in society at a much younger age, including Alzheimer's, dementia, diabetes, high blood pressure, heart disease, all these conditions we all get, but at a later age. People with Down syndrome just seems to get a lot earlier. And this is why limiting the sugar and carbohydrate intake is so protective. And then there has been people like Ken Berry, who's done a talk about it, about children in Down syndrome, limiting carbohydrates. The same as Annette Bosworth. There's a very good case study of a lady who has Down syndrome, and she got dementia in her 40s, and her mum was in her 60s, and they've put her on a ketogenic diet. And she is now cognitively able to speak words that she never could before, like a 3-syllable word, where her mum asked her the one day, after being on this ketogenic lifestyle for a few months, "Do you understand?" And she said, "Of course I understand." Something like in those lines, where it's a 3-syllable word, the word understand, where she never even used to say 3-syllable words. And also Dr. Brett Scher, he's a cardiologist, he also talks about the case. So it is out there. And yes, it's very limited because it's children. People are always very scared of going, "Oh, you can't limit carbs in kids, and what damage does it do?" But I feel that why are they putting children with epilepsy on a ketogenic diet that's resistant to medication, yet they do amazing through their life? So there is no danger in providing children with proper nutrition. I can't see how giving them McDonald's all day, every day is healthier than giving them just proper human nutrition. And limiting the sugars, because the World Health Organization says to limit sugars to 5% a day. But if you look at the Eat Smart plate, or whatever it's called, the carbohydrate content of that plate is about 60% a day. So the two are conflicting, the information. So who do I follow, the WHO or the Eat Badly plate? Makes no sense.
That's very true. Yeah, you were kind enough to send me some lovely pictures of Jackson today. Sorry, on Thursday it was, in fact, and one of them was with Dr. Kiltz, who is my sponsor, and another one with Lauren Tucker. There's a bit of a crossover there because Lauren was my second ever friend in the carnivore world back in October of 2023. She came shortly after Larry Allhands, carnivore soldier from Texas. So I did tell Lauren that you'd send me those photographs, and she said, "Oh, what a lovely." She went all gooey over Jackson. Remembered that very well. Yeah, so that was nice. Yeah, so there's one thing perhaps I should develop on now is the fact that myself and Steph are both doing the Dr. Kiltz Keto Carnivore coaching course. We're about 3 weeks into it now and having some great fun with Dr. Nelson. But Dr. Kiltz is kind enough to sponsor a VIP ticket to the Rendezvous City Beef Roundup for one of his listeners who entered the daily competition. I entered the daily competition, not really understanding what I was entering for, and Rick entered it as well. I also didn't see the end of the program because on account of the fact that I was working. So when Elliot emailed me that night to tell me I won a 3-day VIP pass worth $1,000 to the Riverton Roundup, the Rendezvous City Roundup, I was a bit taken aback, to say the least. My first reaction was I can't possibly do that because I live in England. But I've sought some advice from a great American friend of mine who happens to be in the conversation tonight, and was kind enough to send me some very reassuring information today. I fly from Heathrow into Denver, Colorado, and then I receive very detailed instructions how I am to get myself across Denver Airport to catch the connecting flight to Riverton. So yes, I'm on my way. The ticket is bought and paid for. The holiday in Riverton is bought and paid for. I now have the full instructions from my friend Mark. I've got no excuse now, have I? Really? I'm coming. I'm kind of committed. So I am coming to the USA I'm leaving on the 20th of August, arriving the 21st, and I'm spending 3 days in the company of Tyler McCann, who is the host. And I believe that I will get to meet the likes of, well, obviously I'll spend quite a lot of time with Dr. Kiltz because he's my sponsor. And I believe I get to meet the likes of Dr. Anthony Chafee and Dr. Sean O'Mara as well. What's happening in my life at the moment, folks, with the meetup, with the course, and with this amazing prize that I won, and also just doing Sunday School Carnivore. At the age of nearly 60, I am 60 on September the 2nd, and suddenly my life has taken on a whole new meaning. So it is just incredible. If you'd asked me even a few months ago, would I be doing all these wonderful things? I would have said, no, that's beyond me. But no, it's not, which is why I've handed in my notice at work. And I'm going to try and cobble together a bit of a living, if you like, with a bit of teaching, because I'm a qualified TEFL teacher as well. I can teach English as a foreign language. Steph is kindly teaching me how to use a computer, because this is a brand new computer I'm sat in front of, and she had to give me real big beginner steps to get me on Zoom and that sort of thing. So, and she's promised to help me out in the future as well, and I've got some other great friends out there. So that's really the big news from my neck of the woods. And so today is Sunday, and we've had the weekend. I went out and saw Ashley, the caterer, yesterday. He's really looking forward to it. For the meetup, and then I went shopping in the town of Glastonbury with my darling wife, Lainey. And retail therapy has to be one of her favourite hobbies, and I certainly came back with this brand new shirt, which is a bit of a different colour for me, because usually you will see me in black or very dark blue. She has an excellent ankle bracelet, which is a witch theme. And we picked up a couple more prizes for the raffle at the meetup as well, a bit of Glastonbury merch, and a couple of other things that are great fun, basically. Glastonbury is great fun. I think Steph has been there and had some fun there. And so if anybody gets a chance to actually spend the day, for example, in Friday when you come down in Glastonbury, it is highly recommended. Today, I've had a fairly quiet day, getting the instructions about the Denver airport. And then we went to lunch at the local Turkish restaurant, where I had the mixed grill. And I was quite impressed, actually, because the poor waitress asked me, what would you want? Salad, you have salad. Do do you want the chips or the rice? And I said, don't want the salad, the chips or the rice. To be fair, she pulled a face, and she was a new waitress because most of them know me down there. But to be fair, when it came back with the meat only, and the only thing they couldn't resist putting on was a whole roasted hot pepper. But I put that to one side and really, really enjoyed the meat only grill. And there was a bit of halloumi on there as well, the Greek cheese, or helim as it's known actually in Turkish. But I don't have a problem with eating a bit of grilled halloumi every now and again. So that was absolutely great fun. Has anybody else had anything special? We've already discussed with Rick. Steph, how have you been feeding yourself now that you're away from home over in Birmingham, for example?
Well, the brilliant thing, George, is, when you've got kids and you've brought them up, what we now realise, all wrong in terms of eating and food and so on. Luckily, I hadn't found out about vegetarian, vegan, and when Alex was growing up, he was eating a mixed diet, even though it wasn't ideal from what we now know. And he's a young man now. He's an adult. It's so strange, as I say. He owns his own house, got his own job. He's his own person, and I'm in his house, and he's making meals for me. Anyway, that's not the story. The story is that, as you know, we do these 24-day resets where we help people get started with primal eating, and obviously, we would have loved, my sister and I would have loved if my son, her nephew, was part of that, and he was never very keen, but he's actually doing it now, and he's found it very, very good. And for him, he didn't need to lose a huge amount, but he's lost quite a lot of weight in the first few weeks, and he's also feeling a bit better, and he seems to have taken to it. So what I'm trying to get round to is, he's been catering for me in Primal, just in fact it's Carnivore, and he invited my mum over, his favourite, his nanny. She came over for lunch as well, and so he made lunch for both of us, and he did a little bit of avocado for her as well, because she's gone low carb as well, George, because when people go to the doctor and they're told, oh, she's got, I would say, pre-diabetic. It sometimes is in the pre-diabetic range, her A1C, and sometimes not. But she's got glaucoma, and it was to the stage where they were lasering her eyes. I didn't know this before it happened. Otherwise, I would have advised her not to do that. But the doctor just said, come back when it gets worse and we'll see what we can do, because there's actually nothing that they can offer now. I mean, he didn't say there's nothing we can offer now. He just said that's what he said. And so, obviously I said to Mum about going low carb, and she got straight onto it, because I think for most of us, well, certainly my family, we know what type 2 diabetes looks like, because all of the grandparents have had it, and they've had all of the a lot of complications that come alongside it over many, 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 many years. And so none of us want to go in that direction. And so for me, seeing Alex, my son, now, being enthusiastic in coming along to carnivore or even ketovore way of eating is just so good for the soul. I'm so delighted. So I've been able to eat right on plan, George, is the short answer to your
question. That's absolutely great. Now, talking about eating, you might remember we had a bit of a conversation the other night, Steph, not on YouTube, but it was on StreamYard, in fact, about how I eat at work. Now, Rick might have some of the comment on this, because you eat 3 meals a day and you're often at work. Now, the nature of my job means that I don't really have much time to eat. So what I do is I eat 3 raw lamb steaks a day, because I don't need to cook and I don't need to wash up. It's literally just eat them and go. But because of the nature of my workspace, if I sit on a chair, my worktop is up there, so I actually have to stand to write anything as well. So I actually have to stand to eat. Now, I have a theory that maybe standing might actually aid digestion because of gravity. So I've noticed that since I've been in this job for the last 6 months, that is really, in eating raw, that is really when my final sort of push towards optimal health took place, because I lost a further 14 pounds in weight or thereabouts. And I'm feeling a lot more energetic, and the gastrointestinal health just seems to be pretty much perfect now, to be perfectly honest with you. Rick, you often, I imagine, eat on the move. I know that you often cook underneath the hood on the engine. Do you find yourself standing to eat at all, or eating under strange circumstances on the road?
Yeah, it depends. Sometimes I'll eat while driving, but I have eaten straight standing next to my truck, eating off the engine. So I've had times where I stop and then I'll remove the container because it's basically attached to the exhaust manifold, and you put your steak in there. I use these stainless steel containers. I make them myself with a pressure washer. They're like a clamshell. So you can get regular steel or stainless steel, and you give it a lot of pressure inside of a wooden mold and expands. And then when you clamp it together, it fits together. The only thing is that it will expand when you're driving. Sometimes you'll have liquid squirt out, or but when it smells good, usually the steam will come out and it smells good. And sometimes I'll stop. Sometimes I'll eat inside the truck. But a lot of times when you're in the sun, for example, it's way too hot. So what I'll do, I'll just take the food over to a tree or something like that. And sometimes I'll just put the container on the branch and eat from there. Sometimes I'll just put on a glove and eat from it while I'm walking around. In fact, was a couple weeks ago, we were putting in a fence, and I was eating while we were taking the measurements. So what I did, I didn't really want to take time to eat, so we had the measuring tape out, and then we were putting in the flags where the measurement would be. And I had in one hand the flags, and the other hand I had my food, and I was eating and was taking them out, and we were putting them in. I've also eaten while I'm working, like if I worked on an air conditioner and I cleaned it out, I turn it back on. I want to make sure that it's not leaking. So I'll sit there. Sometimes I'll just sit on the floor and eat. And the way that I sit, I actually squat down like a little kid would sit, and I'll eat like that. Sometimes I'll eat standing up. I've never seen any difference whether I'm eating while standing. Sometimes when I work in my shop, I eat while standing because maybe I'm assembling something and I have my food nearby. The thing about me is that once I cook my food, I don't like it to sit, and I don't have any leftovers. That's another thing about me. I cook only as much as I'm going to eat. If I cook a little extra, I eat a little extra. If I cook a little less, then I'll wait till the next meal. And I have a 3-meal-a-day window. So when I get up in the morning, first thing I do as soon as I get out of bed, I put the eggs on the stove, put the meat on the stove, and whatever else I'm going to have. And then while I'm getting ready, the food is cooking. Then I'll eat that. I'll leave the house, go to work. Lunch can be any time from before noon to 1 o'clock, somewhere around there, maybe a little after 2. And that's it. And then dinner is generally between 6 and 8. So usually I'll start my dinner when I take my shower. By the time I get out of the shower, it's probably half done. And then it's usually going to be either ground beef or it's going to be, I like to have the chicken for lunch. Usually I'll have beef for dinner. And I do like to have some beef with breakfast or bacon or whatever meat I have. Sometimes I'll have pork for dinner. But it's really simple because when I go to work, I carry a cooler. That's it. And there's usually raw meat in the cooler. Now, sometimes I've actually eaten raw meat. I don't eat raw pork. I don't eat raw chicken. I don't eat raw duck or iguana. However, I have had a lot of raw beef and beef liver over the years. I've always found the beef to be safe. There are certain seafoods that I will eat raw, but I usually freeze them first for several days to try to kill any parasites. But generally, it's beef. And like I said, if I'm going to drive somewhere, let's say that I'm doing a lot of work in different locations. Maybe I'm doing an air conditioner in one place. Maybe I'm doing electrical in another. You sit in traffic here a lot. So when I know that it's lunchtime and I'm going to move, I'll go ahead and put the meat in the container on the engine. And sometimes the engine's already warm from when it was running earlier. And then as it warms up, then I drive, it heats up. It usually takes about anywhere from 20 minutes to an hour to fully cook a piece of meat depending on how thick it is. But with the experience I have, I know that thinner pieces cook faster. If I'm going to have a long drive, I'll go for a thicker piece. And I don't think I've never had one burn, and I've never had one where it didn't cook. So it's very simple. For me, it's a lot easier than having to go and look for somewhere to eat. I work with people, I need to find some place to eat. And they'll look for the McDonald's or the Burger King or the Popeyes or whatever else they go to. I don't have to worry about that. And even when I'm not near my truck, if I'm working with, let's say, a bulldozer, bobcat, or excavator, they all have an engine. So I just take my container and I open it up and I look, and where can I put it? And then I'll clamp it down and it'll be ready. So, I mean, the only thing is with the bobcat, it's a little bumpy. So you got to make sure the lid stays on, because sometimes the food will pop out. And that's really bad, because where's my lunch? And you look, it's on the ground in the dirt somewhere, flat as a pancake. But most of the time, with the correct care, it's very easy to eat and it's very convenient.
Brilliant. We're running fairly short of time, but I noticed there's an interesting question. Steph, can you read the question? What is the question that's come up?
Okay, so George, have you seen anything from anthropology that speaks against sitting? I can't recall a specific article about it, but I remember reading that we're not meant to sit, and that's from the Feral Grammar.
That's a great question, because it was something I was going to bring up fairly shortly. I don't know is the answer to that, but how natural are chairs? Actual chairs? They're fairly recent, aren't they? Dining chairs. As I said, I find I'm very comfortable standing to eat. And one observation I was going to make is that we in the West seem to have lost the skill of squatting, which Rick mentioned. Having exactly, yeah. Having served my time in the Middle East, I know that seen a bit of the Far East as well. I know that the squat position is the position of rest. It's not a stress position at all. So I wonder if that was the natural position of choice back in the day. I just don't know is the answer.
Well,
So go on, Steph.
I did hear, I was listening to a podcast, and I can't remember the person, but they had been out living with traditional tribes, in the last few years, and they were surprised to find that they are not more active than us, in the number of steps and so on. The amount of time sitting is about the same, but as Meathead has just said, and you said, George, supposed to squat, not sit. So they will be sitting in a relaxed squat position, eating. And Meathead has mentioned that there's the Way We Move channel, which speaks about this, because most of us nowadays cannot squat at all. And Farrell Grandma was talking about the hip hinging method of bending forward, bending to pull weeds or to gather eggs.
That's great stuff. Yeah, I'm glad that we're kind of on the same page when it comes to squatting, because I do feel that is perhaps the most natural position of rest that we have lost here in the West. Anyway, folks, I'm looking at the time, and unbelievably, the hour is nearly up, and that we better not get in trouble with the headmaster for overrunning. The school bell is about to go, and at this point, we like to give our guests a chance to sign off. So, Louise, can you tell us how people can get in contact with you? Do you have your own YouTube channel, for example? I know you're on Facebook because that's where we found each other, but please do tell us how people can contact you.
Yeah, probably on Facebook is the best. Just find my name, Louise Benning. I've got the other social media channels like Instagram and TikTok and so, but I'm not very active on it because I don't really know how to use it very well. So I'm more on Facebook. I guess it shows my age. Depending on what your age is on what platform you are, apparently. So, just send me a message request on Facebook and I will respond.
Excellent. Thanks for that, Louise. Rick, so do you want to tell us about Charger Mopar and other ways that we can contact you?
Yeah. I never really did much social media. I have had a Facebook page. I haven't been on it for a while. I used to be more into MySpace, so that shows how old I am. But the best place to find me would be Charger Mopar here on YouTube. And I even have my phone number in some of the chats that I have in the morning. You can call me in on my rotary phone. But YouTube is the best place to catch me.
Fabulous. I am. I've got a very tiny channel on YouTube, which Steph has mentioned, George Goodenough 823, because my name is memorable enough that I don't really have to change it. I'm highly active on Facebook. I've got 179 friends, I think, since I joined on June the 7th. So please come and find me on Facebook. If you send a friend request, make sure you mention Carnivore, because unless I find Carnivore or somebody from the army, I tend to ignore them. I've had several marriage proposals from people fairly recently with no mention of Carnivore, so I kind of tend to ignore those. So, and I'm not on Instagram, Twitter, X, whatever else there is out there. I am on WhatsApp. If eventually you find your way to one of our WhatsApp groups, that'd be really great. You will find me at the meetup. I will be one of the speakers, and I will be especially available to chat in the afternoon and the evening, because when other people will be dancing, my knees will keep me as a wallflower. So please do come and talk to me there. Anyway, we're getting very close to time. So Steph, I'm going to hand over to you to finally wrap us up and to press the button when the time comes.
Yeah, thanks guys for joining us. And some of you, and you did mention in the chat, we're looking for John. He will be back with us next week. He's just coming back from his 60th birthday cruise, and the boat was delayed a little bit. So it's been great being with you. I'm Stephanie, and I'm at Happy Sexy Health on YouTube. And I've made a note of all your names, and I'm going to check out your channels, and especially Feral Grandma, fantastic name, because I need to see this little dog that's causing so much excitement where you are. Okay, George, if you want to say the last words before we call it a day.
The only thing I'm going to say, Steph, is what a fantastic show we've had tonight. Thanks to our guests, and please wrap it up on our behalf.
Brilliant.
So good night, everybody. Oh, sorry. One final word. After show party for the guests as usual. So don't go away just yet. Good night, all.
Good night, all. Bye. Bye.
Bye.